Resilient Georgia defines resilience as the ability to overcome adversity. Historical heroes will feature people from the past who cope with setbacks to reach their goals. This is Dom from the Gwinnett County Public Library, and today, Historical Heroes will spotlight the resilience of Mamie "Peanut" Johnson from her childhood to her career as a professional baseball pitcher for the Indianapolis Clowns. According to Mamie's biography, titled A Strong Right Arm, The Story of Mamie "Peanut" Johnson by Michelle Y. Green, Mamie was born in 1935 and spent most of her childhood in Ridgeway, South Carolina. Her mother lived in Washington, D.C., working to save up for a home after Mamie's father left the family, so Mamie lived with her grandmother on her 81-acre farm. Mamie's uncle Leo, nicknamed Bones, lived nearby and was close enough in age to be more of a big brother. Being separated from her mother was difficult, and Mamie looked forward to the care packages her mother would send, but was sad that her mother couldn't visit as much as she wanted her to. Being in nurturing and supportive relationships is critical for children to develop into healthy, resilient adults, according to the Hope National Resource Center, based out of Tufts Medical Center in Boston, and Mamie's support system of her grandmother and uncle helped her through the separation from her mother. When Mamie was 6 years old, Bones started teaching her how to play baseball, and she loved it. In the summertime, they would tolerate the heat to play baseball using makeshift items for bases, tree branches for bats, and a hefty rock wrapped in twine and tape for a baseball. Mamie took to pitching right away and threw hard enough to tear bark off the branches when the batter swung at the ball. Although Mamie lived in a time where girls were not encouraged to become athletes, her mother, grandmother, and uncle nurtured her love of sports, which helped secure her belief in her ability to play just as well as anyone else. By the time Mamie was 10 years old, she and Bones had bonded over the sport of baseball, and he had taught her how to pitch a slider, a changeup, and a fastball. Mamie said her dreams of playing baseball seemed to spread out across the open land she lived on, and she wasn't sure if she ever wanted to live in a crowded city. Sadly, her grandmother unexpectedly passed away from a stroke, which would change Mamie's life as she knew it. Mamie's mother came down to mourn her mother and console Mamie. Mamie expected she would be moving to Washington, D.C. with her mother, but her mother was not financially able to take care of her right then, so she told Mamie she would be moving to Long Branch, New Jersey, with another aunt and uncle. It was tough for her to leave Bones, her friends, and the home she grew up in. Before leaving for New Jersey, Bones took her to their baseball field and taught her a new pitch to add to her arsenal, the knuckleball. He handed her the scuffed-up baseball he got when he went to a Negro League baseball game between the Atlanta Black Crackers and the Birmingham Black Barons, and told Mamie the players were good, and he wanted to join them when he had enough skills. She told him she had never heard of professional black baseball teams, and neither of them knew why their games were not broadcast over the radio. After practicing the pitch until she got the hang of it, Bones let her keep the tattered baseball, and with it, he helped ignite her dream to play professionally. Dealing with loss in a new environment is a lot for someone, especially a child, to cope with. The Hope National Resource Center states that developing a sense of belonging and connectedness can come from involvement in social institutions like school service projects and sports groups. Positive experiences in groups like these help children overcome adversity. When Mamie first moved to Long Branch, New Jersey, she found out girls didn't play baseball. They played softball. In Green's book, Mamie says she joined a softball team and didn't like the larger ball, the underhand pitching, and the fact that her whole life had changed and now she had to play a whole different game instead of the baseball she loved. She quit after 3 games. Her uncle continued to play catch with her in the front yard and even bought her a glove and showed her how to break it in. Mamie still longed to play baseball like she used to, and one day when taking a shortcut home from school, she came across an all-white, all-male baseball team practicing at a park. When she commented about how good they played, she was met with biased remarks for being black, a girl, and from the South. Mamie's family taught her resilience by instilling in her that she was just as good as anyone else, but they still warned her to stay away from the trouble race relations could cause. When the coach came over to find out what she and the team were arguing about, Mamie learned that the team was called the Police Athletic League and was funded by the local police department. She was told to move on by the coach, who was also a police officer, but she showed up at the precinct the next day and talked the coach into letting her try out for the team. She pitched herself right onto the team, breaking both the gender and color line, and would help lead the team to 2 division championships. After finding out Mamie made the team, her aunt and uncle said they would support her no matter what she wanted to do as long as she stayed out of trouble. According to MLB.com's The Negro Leagues page, powered by the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, black baseball players were banned from organized baseball leagues by the late 1800s due to unwritten rules and gentlemen's agreements, so the players formed their own clubs that barnstormed across the country to play any team that challenged them. Andrew Rube Foster convinced baseball club owners to develop organized black baseball leagues, and in 1920, the Negro National League was born. It faltered after the Great Depression, but was reborn in 1933 along with the formation of the Negro American League. In 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the long-standing color barrier and entered into a contract with the Major Leagues. This was profound for professional black baseball players, but as Major League teams scouted the top players, their fans followed, which started the beginning of the end for the Negro Leagues. However, it would open up an opportunity for Mamie several years later when she was just 18 years old. In her teenage years, Mamie was living with her mother in Washington, D.C. There she played baseball for St. Cyprian's recreational team and had a friend named Rita who loved to play baseball just as much as she did. In Green's book, Mamie talked about how she and Rita went to try out for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League that was started in 1943 during World War II. It was also the basis of the 1992 film A League of Their Own. She thought that since baseball was now integrated in the men's league, that women should be given a chance as well. This was their first shot at making a professional team and getting paid to play, so she and Rita boarded a bus and showed up at the tryouts in Virginia. Nervous at first to be the only women who looked like them at the tryouts, they started to warm up in the outfield until an angry man with a clipboard and cigar made his way over to them and asked what they were doing there. Mamie showed the man the newspaper announcement for the tryouts and was told that just because colored men had wormed their way into the major leagues did not mean colored women were welcome to join the All-American Girls. He told them to hightail it out of there and threatened to have them physically removed if they did not leave immediately. Mamie picked up the baseball she and Rita had been warming up with, and she realized that they had no one to vouch for them like Jackie Robinson had in order to be given a chance to play, but she wanted to at least show them her strong right arm. She got into her throwing stance and whipped that ball across the open field and watched it land in the dirt behind home plate. After proving that she and Rita were good enough to play, they gathered their baseball gear and left the others whispering behind them. Knowing that she was capable of playing the game and playing it well helped Mamie cope with the rebuff from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. She and Rita continued to play baseball together and even played semi-professionally for the Alexandria All-Stars out of Virginia. But after a year, she realized the money was only enough for bus fare to and from the games, so she continued to play for St. Cyprian's in Washington, D.C. Sunday games are played on Banneker Field, located right in the middle of the city. It was the recreational center for the black community to play and perfect sports of all kinds. This was the place where Mamie was discovered by former Negro League player Bish Tyson. Her friend Rita noticed him in the stands 3 weeks in a row, and on that day, Mamie wanted to make an impression, even though she and Rita did not know who he was. Playing sports under pressure requires mental resilience, and Mamie mastered techniques to face down her toughest opponents. During this game, there was a tying run on third base and a runner on first, and the team's strongest player was up at bat. Focusing on sights and sounds can help reduce anxiety, and Mamie focused on the smell of baking bread from the Wonder Bread Company down the street and could hear the cheers from the nearby Griffith Stadium where the baseball team, the Washington Senators, were playing. She focused in on the strike zone and struck out the batter to take the win. Bish Tyson came down and introduced himself and asked her if she wanted to try out the following week for the Indianapolis Clowns. In Green's book, Mamie said she went to the tryouts the following week and met players Ted Richardson, Gordon Hoppy Hopkins, Junior Hamilton, and surprisingly another female player named Toni Stone. Stone became the first woman to ever play professional baseball regularly in a major men's professional baseball league after signing a contract when Hank Aaron left the team for the major leagues. With the decline of the Negro Leagues, managers were looking to draw the interest of new fans, and the Indianapolis Clowns did just that by signing female ballplayers that had what it took to win games. The team also drew crowds by continuing to put a comedic spin to baseball, much like the Harlem Globetrotters of basketball. They actually had clowns and some of the players put on a show during the seventh-inning stretch, but when it came time to play, they were all business. Mamie was excited for what lay ahead for her as a professional baseball player. Toni had warned her that some of the guys were not exactly happy to have women on the team. Toni even had one of their teammates put his spiked shoe up when sliding into second during a team scrimmage and pierced her in the shin. The team managers, Mr. Haywood and Mr. Downs, stood up for the women when the team gave them a hard time. And after they proved they were there to stay and could hold their own on the field, the team treated them like sisters. If the team met opposition from other players or hecklers in the stands, they helped one another keep their tempers from flaring. Mamie's teammate, Oscar Charleston, had to pull her across the field when a white spectator was being disrespectful to her while they were warming up. Charleston told her to take her anger out on the batters, and Mamie said he probably never saw her throw as hard as she did that day. Green's book mentions the team played 150 games per season that ran from April through October, and the players were paid $200 twice a month. If they won the game, they would get 60% of the gate fee, but 40% if they lost. So they wanted to attract as many spectators as possible and win as many games as they could. The schedule took them north and south to play other Negro League teams, farm teams, college teams, recreational teams, and any team that wanted to challenge them. They did have struggles on the road due to racism. Some towns would not let them sleep in their hotels, fill up the bus with gas, or eat in their restaurants. Sometimes black families opened their homes to Mamie and Tony and even fed the whole team, but a lot of time was spent on the bus. Forming connections with one another helped foster Mamie's resilience on the field, and so did reflecting on her family's tips to stay focused while on the mound. She even made connections with players on other teams. One encounter she mentions in Green's book is how she met Satchel Paige when he was retired from the majors but playing on the Kansas City Monarchs. He came over to her after their game and showed her how to perfect her curveball. That curveball came in handy a few years later when she faced one of Paige's teammates, Hank Bayless. A very vocal spectator had unwanted commentary after every pitch, and after Bayless had 2 strikes against him, the spectator heckled Bayless, who in turn announced to the crowd that Mamie was no bigger than a peanut and he was not afraid of her. Knowing her talent and her perfection of the curveball, she stretched as tall as her 5'2" frame would allow and shut down Bayless with that pitch that announced her ownership of the nickname Peanut. Mamie played with the Clowns for 3 seasons with a record of 33 wins and 8 losses. She was also a great hitter with a batting average of .262 to .284. She saw the era of the Negro Leagues coming to a close when more and more top players entered the majors, but knew women would not be crossing that gender line. She accepted that she had gone as far as she could go professionally as a female baseball player, so in the off-season she studied medicine and engineering. After making her dream of playing baseball for a living a reality and becoming the first female pitcher in Negro League professional baseball history, she retired in 1955, then earned a nursing degree from North Carolina A&T. She became a registered nurse and continued to influence young ball players and was well known and respected in her community and throughout the ball-playing world. Although some stated facts differ among resources, the following title was used for this program: A Strong Right Arm, The Story of Mamie Peanut Johnson, written by Michelle Y. Green, available through the Gwinnett County Public Library. Also available through Gwinnett County Public Library is Mamie on the Mound, A Woman in Baseball's Negro Leagues, by Leah Henderson, illustrated by George Dosiopoulos. To learn more about Mamie Peanut Johnson, there are many interviews and articles available on the internet. Thank you for watching.